You already know the drill. This is a little thing I like to call MLB Rants. Before I get into anything else, just to let you all know that none of my opinions are universally correct. They're just my opinions. If there's something that you do agree with, though, put it down in the comments. And if there's something that you disagree with, put that down in the comments as well. And explain what your side of the story is. If you see different from me, all that kind of stuff. And then again, if there's something that happens next week that you would like me to go over, also put that in the comment section down below. That'd be great. Well, this is MLB Rants, 2021 season, episode 6. Yeah, let's do this thing. So earlier this week, Mets were playing the Braves, and Kevin Pillar got absolutely rocked in the face by a pitch. And it was just so gory. Like, usually what happens in the MLB is either the players will try to disguise that they have been badly injured, or the camera will just pan away to the reaction of someone who's actually looking at what's happening. But in this case, it just zoomed straight into Kevin Pillar, and like blood just dripping from his nose, completely messed up his nose. Needed to go to hospital straight after, like right after the game. He had to go to hospital. So, and that's honestly pretty rare when it's really that bad. The only thing that kind of happens for is really bad arm injuries and like broken bones. And Kevin Pillar seems to be fine. The Mets, again, doing well. I'm sticking by the fact that they're going to win the NL East. They are the best team in the NL East. The Phillies are kind of right behind them, but ultimately I still feel like the Mets are going to win it all because they just seem to be the team to beat. But yeah, Kevin Pillar, prayers are, kind of, he's recovered already, but just seeing that stuff is a reminder of how dangerous the sport can be. And it's just good to see that we have the technology nowadays where it doesn't like lead to much happening to Kevin Pillar, especially for Kevin Pillar, who's such a good player and who's been in the league for quite a while now. So yeah, Kevin Pillar gets hit in the face and just blood everywhere. At viewer discretion, it is pretty gory for what like the MLB usually does for these kind of situations. And there was like a lot of blood that he loses after being hit by the pitch. So yeah, go watch that if you want, but if you don't, stay here and I can talk about what's next. An interesting discussion that was happening in the MLB world this week was Jose Altuve and whether or not he would get inducted into the Hall of Fame, because he's starting to come close to the 3,000 hit mark. And usually when players like that get 3,000 hits, they usually go into the Hall of Fame. But since after everything that has happened to the Astros and everything that has happened to Altuve, the question is, well, is he really going to go to the Hall of Fame after everything that happens? My opinion, yeah, he's still going to go to the Hall of Fame. That's just how it is. There have been a lot of players who have used steroids, who have cheated the game with, foreign substances and all that kind of stuff. But yet they're still in the Hall of Fame, and they're still, looked at as some of the best players in the MLB. To kind of like clear up that discussion, he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. That literally ends the discussion. It shouldn't really be a discussion, but I saw it, and I feel like, it really needs to be addressed that everyone knows that Altuve shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but he's going to be into the Hall of Fame no matter what happens. So yeah, Altuve's going to go to the Hall of Fame. It was a little discussion that was going on, and yeah, just kind of clear that up. Even though it sucks, he really shouldn't be going to the Hall of Fame, but he is, and it's terrible, and it shouldn't be happening, but whatever, I guess. The MLB is wacky in its own way. A different injury that happened this week was Huascar Ynoa. I mentioned him 2 weeks ago, the whole charity case with the 30 kittens, and one of the kittens was named after him after he hit a grand slam. He's currently on the IL, and he's going to be on the IL for a few months. But the reason why he's on the IL is because he punched a bench. He punched the bench. He literally punched the bench and fractured his hand. They were playing the Brewers on Sunday, and he had a terrible start to the game, so he went into the dugout and punched the bench. Took his anger out on the bench. Baseball players do it, whether it's bench or a water cooler or the bubblegum container, or the telephone. If you have Huascar Noah on your fantasy team and you haven't heard that he fractured his hand punching a bench, then go do that now because he's not going to be playing for a little bit. Last week, I talked about how COVID cases started rising a little bit between the Padres and the Yankees, and I'm turning my focus to the Padres here. And so during their whole COVID outbreak that was going on with that team, you had Fernando Tatis Jr., George Mateo, Jurickson Profar, Eric Hosmer, and Will Myers, who all got COVID, and they were placed on the IL so that they wouldn't get anyone else COVID. And so they played the Cardinals this week, which was really a bad thing. It was really bad timing for the Padres because the Cardinals are the third best team in the NL behind the Giants, who are in the Padres division, and then the Padres themselves, who sit second in all of the NL, and then you've got the Cardinals. And so they play the Cardinals at home, and they beat them in every game. Padres are behind the Giants, yes, but they are not that far behind. They're only half a game behind the Giants. And all it takes is, for some Giant slip-up. The Giants did have an impressive game this week against the Reds when they beat them 19-2, which is just unbelievable. NL West is looking a lot better than it used to because for the past half a decade, it was honestly just the Dodgers playing terrible teams in their division because nobody really had any good players. So yeah, the Dodgers finally have some competition, and now that the competition has arrived, they are third in the NL West, and they are 3 games behind the Giants. And speaking of the Dodgers, they really are terrible this year. But the fact that they're only like a few games above 500 is kind of concerning. Because when you think about the team they had last year in the World Series to the team they had now, it's the same exact team. They've added Trevor Bauer. And it's like every time Trevor Bauer pitches for the Dodgers, they don't win. But yet when Kershaw gives up 4 runs in a game, they still manage to win, but they squeak out a win with 5-4. And their fan base is even worse. Last week, I got into fan bases of the Angels and the Red Sox, but now the Dodgers are starting to become even more toxic than those fan bases because Dodger fans just have this tunnel vision all the time. And a lot of teams have this tunnel vision, but the Dodgers show it more than any other team in the MLB. And the biggest thing for the Dodgers is that they think they're going to be back-to-back World Series champions, when that is not the case. They're not going to win the World Series this year. They might get to the World Series, yeah, because there aren't a lot of great NL teams. They're playing the Giants right about now, and, if the Giants don't beat the Dodgers, then we kind of know where the Giants are at, because the Giants were not expected to go. It's like the Giants and the Twins kind of traded places because the Twins were supposed to be up where the Giants are and the Giants were supposed to be down where the Twins are, and now it's vice versa. The Dodger fan base is like, their perception of it is, oh, a win is a win. Yeah, a win is a win. And that concept right there is the reason why you guys lose in the postseason. Well, that's why you guys lost in the postseason every year. Yeah, there was the cheating scandals and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, they're still close matches. And, you go back, the prime example, the best example, is when they played the Nationals in the postseason and lost. Because to them, it's, oh, well, we're the best team in the league. We have the best record in the league, so we should make it to the World Series. But yet they don't, because how did they win all those games? Oh, that's right. They played the Padres, who are below 500. They played the Giants, who are below 500. They played the Diamondbacks, who are below 500. They played the Rockies, who are below 500. They played all those teams in their divisions who had no chance of beating the Dodgers. And that's how they got their 106-game season. Because they were playing the same terrible teams with terrible players over and over and over again. And now that the NL West is good, funnily enough, the Dodgers have dropped to 3rd. And they're going to stay at 3rd. They might not even have a chance at the postseason. If the Giants end up beating the Dodgers, then it's pretty safe to say that the Dodgers getting to the postseason is going to be really difficult, even though they have the exact same team they do last year. Yeah, they've got, players on the IL, but hey, look at the White Sox. They've got players on the IL too. The Dodgers aren't a great team. They're a one-hit wonder, just like the Cubs were. And Cubs fans still think they're World Series bound, even though they're not. But I think now it's starting to settle in that, every 100 years, the Cubs will win the World Series. And that's the Dodgers. They have the same team for a couple of years, then they bring in a completely different team. And, it's just that they brought in, so they got David Price back after not being there last year, but he's on the IL. They got Trevor Bauer, who's not on the IL, but he's still a great pitcher, and that makes up for Dustin May getting Tommy John surgery. And then you've got Cody Bellinger on the IL, who's bound to come back any minute now. And then, you've got Brusdar Graterol, who's also injured. You've got all these injuries, but it's not like they're the only team with injuries. So, yeah, the Dodgers fan base, your team isn't winning the World Series this year. And your team is bad. Oh, and also talking about the Dodgers, how can we forget the fact that Albert Pujols got signed to the Dodgers? He wears 55 because the number 5 is a correlation of grace, so he wears 55 as double grace. And I feel like after this year, Albert Pujols is going to realize that there's not really any place for him at any team, and he's just going to end up retiring. That's what I said when I brought this up a few weeks ago, that he was going to retire. But yeah, he signed with the Dodgers, so good for him. But ultimately, at the end of this year, he should retire. This year really feels like the year of the no-hitter. We've already had 6 no-hitters this season, and it's barely, almost the 3rd week of May? Weird part about this is the fact that we are 1 no-hitter shy of the all-season record of all time. There have only been 7 no-hitters in 1 season. Joe Musgrove, Carlos Rodon, John Means, and Wade Miley. And then the recent ones are Spencer Turnbull and Corey Kluber. So yeah, a lot of no-hitters this year. Most likely gonna break the record. We need perfect games. There are a lot of people who are talking about how these no-hitters are bad for the MLB, like Kershaw especially, is talking about how it's a negative impact on the game when, it's just guys kind of playing the game. For a guy like Kershaw, it kind of feels like he's jealous that all these other pitchers are getting no-nos and he's not. He's giving up 5 runs a game? I know they've changed the baseballs, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's still baseball. It's still got the same shape. Pitchers are throwing it faster, yeah, but it's not like hitters aren't hitting it. It's not like this is the first time hitters are saying 100 miles an hour. Ultimately, no-hitters are great. They got to keep going. We've got to beat this record of 7 within the next, 5 to 6 months. So, Dave Martinez, manager for the Nationals, got ejected the other day. Game against the Cubs this week. And it was so basically what happened was Trey Turner, who's the shortstop for the Nationals, he swung at a pitch and completely whiffed, but it was a drop ball, so that means he has the ability to run to first base. And if the catcher has to throw to first base, and if he doesn't throw to first base, then it's not an out, and the runner's saved, even though he struck out. Umpires, again, called Trey Turner out. They called him out because apparently it's runner's interference. Runner's interference basically means, he was in the way of the ball, which means it was distorted for the first baseman to actually catch the ball. He didn't give the first baseman a chance to catch the ball. He got in the way of the ball. That's what runner's interference means. When you look at the clip, he's running in a straight line. Not only is he running in a straight line, you can see the chalk coming up under his feet. If he's running on the chalk, that's a straight line. That chalk is there for a reason, Blue, to just give you some understanding of where the guy's running. Yet he airmails, and there's only one reason why the catcher would airmail a ball like that. It's because the runner's in the way. Oh yeah, and then Dave Martinez comes out, and he is fuming. I've never seen a dude so angry in my life. He goes up to the umpire, starts yelling in his face, of course, and then he runs down first base line to imitate what Trey Turner just did. He picks up first base, throws it on the ground, and kicks it, and then leaves. It's gotten to this point. It has gotten to this point where we are seeing bases being thrown because of these umpires. They're horrible this year. They are horrible. Their calls are terrible, both balls and strikes, and stuff that's going on in the field. If a catcher airmails a pitch, it's because he airmailed the ball. He airmailed it. Let it go. It's not because of runner's interference. How blind must you be? How because you're clearly not focused. You clearly don't know what's going on. Because you would see Trey Turner, the chalk, coming up from under his feet when he's running down the baseline. The worst thing is that the same happened in the 2019 World Series in Game 6 that the Nationals played, in which again, Dave Martinez was thrown out the game for. But Nationals ended up winning the game, so it's not that bad. But again, just to go on the fact that umpires are terrible this year, you gotta see that is not like... And then the worst thing is that we have all this technology to literally review that play, and we're not reviewing it. I understand it's a judgment call, but why don't you change your judgment after you see that you're wrong? How about that? Because maybe that'll work. Maybe then we'll get the right play. I'm hoping that umpires are diminished as much as possible from the game, because we don't need them. We do not need umpires to make these silly calls that clearly every player in the nation is mad about. Now, the really, really big thing that has been going on this week is the whole Yermin Mercedes home run that he hit against the Twins when they were winning 15-4. Again, I pointed out before, they've got a lot of injured players too, just like the Dodgers, yet they beat the Twins 16-4. They beat the Twins 16-4 because Yermin Mercedes hit a nuke to center field off of a position player for the Twins who pitched before. Like, this isn't his first time pitching. He literally pitched before. And basically, when he hit that home run, the manager of the White Sox, Tony La Russa, had a big problem with that. He had a big problem with, this rookie hitting a home run off of a position player, even though they're already winning 15-4. And he did all this stuff to the Twins, like apologize to them and all this stuff. My understanding from this is that Tony La Russa needs to be fired. He needs to be fired or retire. He needs to go back to the retirement home and stay there. He's been away from the game for too long. And the Twins commentators are just mad because their team is bad. And so is every other Twins fan, because their team is bad. Because they are dead last in the MLB. Tony La Russa he can't be the manager. Because the fact that, I mentioned it before, that he literally forgot that a runner on second base in extra innings was a rule. And it's like now he's thinking about, oh, well, it's very unsportsmanlike when a guy in a 3-0 count hits a home run off of a position player. They put a position player. They gave up. They put that position player in because they don't want to use their actual pitchers. They have pitchers. They have more than enough pitchers to put in that position. But they put in a position player. Why? Because they gave up. Any team would give up at that point. But you shouldn't be mad at your own player who, might I add, has a literal Cinderella story this year by being in the minors for so long and finally getting called up and being such a huge phenomenon this year. But not only that, because he's a rookie, he gets paid based on his stats. So of course, he's going to go to this at bat where it's basically like, oh, this is free money for me. This is easy money for me because all I need to do is get the bat there and it's gone. Because Mercedes is a big guy. So of course, and if this position player is lobbing it at 50 miles an hour, what do you expect? Tony La Russa's too old to be managing the White Sox, especially for what the White Sox are this year. They're the best team in baseball. He should not be managing that team. He has nothing to do with that team. The White Sox don't even need a manager, and they would still win the same amount of games. It's terrible. The fact that he's saying how he's going to punish Yermin Mercedes for just being a great player. Not only that, but the commentators were also talking about how, you don't do it on that pitch. Oh, so you don't do it on that pitch. So when it's 3-1, or when it's 3-2, when it's a different count, when it's not 3-0, you can hit all day long. You've got the green light. But when it is 3-0, oh no, you gotta take. Even though the ball's coming at you, which means it's a pitch, which means you have every right to swing at the pitch. You don't even need to listen to your manager. You can hit if you want to and just completely ignore him. Your Mercedes hits a home run and gets basically penalized for it. The unwritten rules is it's killing the MLB. It's literally killing the MLB, and this isn't the first time that the unwritten rules has played its role this season. It's terrible. And guys like Tony La Russa and all these old, washed up, former players, they gotta go. We need a fresh batch of managers and even commentators. Because the fact that I'm hearing commentators saying, oh, that was so bad. Oh, we shouldn't have done. Why? Just because your team is bad? Sorry, that's not his problem. That's your problem. That's your team's problem. You're commentating for that team. I understand you're trying to fight for your team, but saying that it's wrong to hit a home run is pretty selfish. He's got Tim Anderson and Lance Lynn both backing up saying, play the game. You can't let other people tell you not to play the game, because that's just straight up dumb. It's dumb. Why this is happening. And old guys like Tony La Russa gotta go. He's gotta be fired or retired. And, the day after, you've got Tyler Duffy on the mound, and he throws behind Yermin Mercedes, and they throw him out of the game. And then the Twins manager is wondering why they threw him out of the game. Why do you think you threw him out of the game? You just threw behind a guy who hit a home run on a 3-0 count. I feel like if Tony La Russa didn't make it such a big deal, he probably wouldn't have thrown behind him. But hey, whatever. I guess you know what you're doing because you're the manager. Even though you're too old, you don't deserve to be managing this amazing team. You should be gone. Gone. The White Sox should really consider about hiring someone else by the trade deadline or just next year in general, because they are a winning team and they are looking good. That's it for this week's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it that much, make sure you hit that like button. And if you like my content in general and you want to see what I upload next week, hit that subscribe button and also push the bell for notifications so that in case you forget that I upload every Friday, you'll get the notification telling you that I've uploaded, and then you can go watch my video. If there is something that you agree with in this episode, be sure to put that in the comments below and I will check it out. If you disagree with something I say, also put that in the comments below. But don't say, oh, I disagree with you on this. Say, I disagree with you on this because of this, this, and this. Or if you want to be lazy, just say, I disagree with you. Then I might come back to you and be like, well, why do you disagree with me? And then if there's something that happens next week that you really want me to go over, put it down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to like and subscribe. Leave down in the comments what you agree with, what you disagree with, something that happens next week. And I will see you in the next one. Peace.